going on, everybody? Welcome in another NASCAR breakdown for Watkins Glen this week. Have Josh with me again. How you feeling about this week, Josh, as we just keep plugging along in the playoffs of NASCAR? We were just talking about prize pools. They've kept them somewhat big enough that keeps it interesting. So
yeah,
we'll just keep going, right?
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, road courses are either going to be really exciting or really boring, and this is one of the ones that usually is boring most of the race till the end. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch as these playoffs race wind down. The elimination races are always the fun ones too.
Yeah,
which we have next week at Bristol. So, and we were just saying it's Saturday night. So I think, just competing against college football instead of NFL should make the contest a little bigger. So, excited to see what they do. Probably the 50K will stay the same, I would guess. Maybe they bump the pool overall, but I would hope all the contests that we normally play week in and week out are boosted up a little bit too. So
yeah,
we'll see.
probably.
But we got Watkins Glen first. Have some interesting names in the field this weekend. You've got SVG's back, of course, for the road course. Then you got Juan Pablo Montoya in there. Haven't seen that name in a while. Got some interesting people priced down. We've talked about there's a lot of ways you can go here. On the surface, in terms of dominators and things, what are you looking for here? I usually go 1 to 2. With how it usually pans out at a road course like this. Most every road course I'm 1 to 2. But it really just depends. Finishing position's a little more important than leading laps and things here this week.
It is. I agree. I'm probably going to go with 2 to 3 this week, but I'm considering Reddick as a dominator because he's got that speed. I think he's going to be. I know it's hard to pass, so he's not going to be up there in the first stage. But I think by the second stage and the third stage, he's going to be up there fighting for leading laps, I think.
Yeah. I think the dominator discussion, like you said, I think Reddick, Larson, a lot of the good drivers, Gibbs, Bale, a lot of the good cars are starting far enough back that they have place differential. So like SVG third, he would be what I would consider a dominator. But if you pair him with Larson or if you pair him with Reddick, you're not really worried about those two fighting against each other because SVG could get up and lead. And it's fine if Larson or Reddick finishes or runs second and third. Whereas if you had Larson starting in the top 5 with him, then it gets a little tougher. And if you look at the track history tab, Byron led 66 last year. McDowell led 17, must have been pretty early in the race, and then something happened to him. And then the year before, in 22, you had it was kind of spread out. You had Logano led 15, Chase led 29, McDowell 14. So really spread out, whereas probably wasn't many dominator points that people got from that.
No.
Chase had 9.5 for fastest laps in that case, 7.25 for laps led. So yeah, it boosted him a little bit. I would be interested to look back at the optimal that year because Chase started first, finished fourth, led the most laps, got 7 from laps led and 9 there, so 17 points from dominator points, ended with 54. Logano started 20th, led half the amount of laps and outdone him by 8, finishing third. So place differential is king here. You're not going to see, they're not going to move straight to the front at the start of these races. With just the way the track is, you're gonna need the fast cars that work their way up over the course of the race, and speed usually wins out at these type things. Any additional thoughts on lineup construction, and we'll hop into the ranges?
No, I like I said, I'm considering Reddick as a dominator, but I'm gonna take that back after what you just said. I think you're right with differential. I think I'm I mean, obviously SVG is going to be a lock for everybody. We all know that. I mean, he's going to be probably 50% owned. There's going to be people that gamble and don't take him here. But this track is even with the tire, it's still going to be about speed. It's hard to pass. It's going to be about strategy. I think it's going to be who has the right strategy. Everybody's got Hatfield's going to be on that strategy where they come in with 3 laps left and get all their stuff, get ready for the next stage. Those are the guys going to be wanting to win the race. Those are going to be the playoff guys. But then there's going to be guys who are gambling and doing it completely different because of their starting position. I mean, there's just going to be all kinds of different strategies going on. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. But I do agree that place differential is where you're going to get most of your points at here for sure.
Yeah. So we'll hop in the top range. You've got Larson at the top at 10.5. So just for relative purposes, a little bit lower than what we're used to seeing this top range be at. And all the way down to Allmendinger at 9. So it's kind of bunched together. We don't have anybody over 11K. Larson, I think, is a really good play. He won back-to-back years here in 21 and 22. Starts 20th. You got to have interest in that. I think he works his way to the front. You already mentioned SVG. I think he's kind of the main guy you would think leads early in this race. The other two up front are Ross and Truex.
I like Truex a lot.
I mean, Truex has been pretty good here. We'll get to him in the next range, but as far as thinking who leads, I mean, we saw SVG just dog some of these guys early. I think it was Larson early in this race, or not this race. Early in, it was either Chicago or Sonoma, something. I can't remember which one it was.
I'm not sure, but it could have been Coda as well.
Yeah, it could have been Coda, but he was just outdoing them, riding behind them, just pretty much like, I can pass you whenever I want.
Yeah.
I think he does that to either one of these two. Up front, Ross especially. I think it's Truex, or in my opinion, it's Truex or SVG leading early in this race. And I was going to look at the speeds in practice. I know they were probably trying out, Eric mentioned it in the chat, they're probably trying out the tire a little bit. So practice data could be a little bit wonky here. But I trust it, overall a little bit. And if you look at those top starters, Ross was the top 3 car overall, even out to the 10, 15 lap average. Truex wasn't. So I guess what I said might be a little bit reversed in terms of speed. But he did qualify. Well, they did get qualifying in, correct? I mean, or else SVG wouldn't be starting up here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch anything of this yesterday.
Rain at all yesterday there. None.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think he's an interesting play at under 10 to get out front and lead early. You're going to need him to finish up there, though. So, that's pretty much with any of these guys if you're trying to win a tournament. But
Austin have finishes here. What are they? 18, 21, 12, 27, 32. I mean, you almost got to avoid Ross, in my opinion.
Yeah. Reddick, I think, is a really good play. He's a great road course racer. Starts 16th, kind of similar to Larson there. Really similar plays, but 1,000 cheaper for Reddick. Bell's a very solid road course racer. Starts 17th, similar spot there. Gibbs, a similar spot, same good road course racer, starts 15th. Dinger starts 6th. That's a tough one. I mean, he's ran well here. Same, teammate with SVG here. Could you get to him? Yeah. I don't think I'll be there. I think he'll be really low owned. I think that's an interesting thought, though, because I mean, Dinger's never low owned at road courses.
No, but
so I guess you could look at it 2 ways. He either is really low owned, and you got to just take, if you want to throw him in your pool and take the chance, or he gets ownership because everybody loves him on road courses, and then he would be a horrid play, I think.
Yeah.
With all these other guys around him starting farther back.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, and with everybody like I said, around him starting further back. I mean, you said it all right there. I think he's going to get overlooked, even though he is AJ Allmendinger. It's not like he's in his Xfinity car, he's in a Cup car. It's just different. I think all these other guys around him, he's going to get overlooked, I think.
So Reddick was the fastest car in practice, and now starts mid-pack. So, I would probably rank him one out of this top group.
Yeah.
And then 1, 2, and then 2 is going to be Larson still for me, and then SVG is going to be 3, just because you're taking on a little more risk with him, starting at the front, because you need him to get out front and lead those laps.
Yeah, but I just think he's going to. I mean, this dude is phenomenal.
I think you're starting with 2 of those 3 is where I would go in single entry.
Yep.
Larson plus SVG, or if you need the 1,000, Reddick plus SVG, and I lean towards the Reddick SVG route so far.
I do as well. Which, since you said that, kind of makes.
But you could also go Reddick Larson, and I wouldn't fault anybody for that.
I wouldn't fault anybody, but man, you're rolling the dice without an SVG. I mean, you just are today.
Yeah.
If he had that penalty yesterday, and if he wouldn't have had that penalty yesterday, he would have dominated that last stage. But he had I think it was a drive-through penalty. I don't know if it was speeding or what. I had the West Virginia game on and the race on a quiet TV on the smaller one, so I didn't get to hear what the penalty was. But that penalty killed him yesterday. He would have won that race if it wasn't for that penalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so moving into the 7 and 8K range, we already talked a little bit about Truex and Ross. They start 1-2. The theme of this range, I think, is that they've priced down drivers that aren't usually down here because they haven't been very good on road courses. You got Blaney, 7,400. You got Logano, 73. You got Brad at 7 in the bottom part of this range. Back to the top, I mean, you could take the chance on Truex, but he's just not really been the same on road courses in the new car, in my opinion. You have Buescher and Denny that I think are fine options, starting in the 20s, low 8s. Denny's another one of those that they've priced way down. But he's been pretty good here.
He has been.
Overall. So I think you could definitely look at Denny. Juan Pablo Montoya, who we've not seen that name in a while. 8K, 34th. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not getting there.
I don't think I'll play him.
Oh, well, no. Blaney 600 cheaper than him. There's no way. I mean, Blaney's a much better play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, McDowell was fast in practice. Looked like he was even faster on the long run as the lap averages went on. He was even better, which is encouraging. He's a good road course racer. So starts 10th. I think you could take a shot on him to be maybe if you think of it as 2 dominators and you got SVG and him, and then you got the place differential of Reddick or Larson, somebody in that range, and then we drop on down. The Suarez to Chastain range, I think I'm going to avoid. Cindric's a good road course racer, but I just don't think I can do it with these starting positions. So I'm out on all this range until you get down to Ryan Blaney at 74, who used to be pretty good at road courses. I mean, he's always been just decent here. He's not had any big finishes outside of a 5th and 19. But those finishes for his price tag, we got to get that wrapped around our mind. We starting 30th and 7,400. We don't need that much out of him, and I think we could definitely get it. If you get a 10th to 15th, you're probably happy with him here. So, I think I'll definitely have him. He's a single entry play. Keselowski, I don't know. I mean, this team, how have they been here? Both of them. Buescher was top 10 last couple years. He was top 20. I mean, 7K, I've never thought of him as a really good road course racer. He's no top 10s in the last 9 between this year and last for Keselowski. 6 top 20s, but never really anything else. I guess a top 20 would be okay, but it's not going to probably win you a tournament.
No.
but it wouldn't be horrid. So I would keep him in the pool if you're running multiple, but he's probably not in the single entry conversation for me. And a lot of that is probably the guy who we'll get to just below this range. But you can talk about what you like here, and then we'll drop down into the below sevens.
Well, obviously we talked about Blaney. I love Blaney here at that price. I think it's a no-brainer. That's if you're doing single entry, obviously. I do like Truex, but not at that price. I think you can do better stuff. I am with you though. Suarez, Cindric, Bowman, and Chastain, I'm not touching. The only thing I remember, there's two things I remember about three actually about Juan Pablo Montoya, is the Daytona when he ran into the jet dryer. Whenever he got in a fight at this road course with Kevin Harvick because he crashed Kevin, and that he just wasn't great overall as a NASCAR driver. He's a good driver, don't get me wrong, but as a Cup driver, he just wasn't great overall. I'll be avoiding him. I don't mind Buescher here, like you said. Don't mind Hamlin. Let's see, Logano at 7th. I just can't. Blaney's a better play in my opinion. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Everything you said, I pretty much agree with down here.
Yeah. So we got DOB in the Discord running some perfect lineups. So I've got him looking for 22 that we were looking for, but for last year, of course, Byron was in there. It was Truex, Bell, Byron, Blaney. So Blaney was in the winner last year at 7,500. Gilliland, who we're going to get to in just a sec, and Stenhouse was in there. So you had, let's see, Byron started 2nd. He was your dominator. Bell started 7th, so another top 10 starter. Did get there, and he didn't lead any laps. So that's an interesting thought to me, that a 10K driver, that's almost like the Dinger play, right? I mean, starting right around the top 10, didn't lead any laps, but finished 3rd. I could see Allmendinger doing that for sure. So that's interesting. Truex was in there, started 19th, finished 6th. Blaney was 23rd, finished 9th. That's exactly what we would want out of him this year. Gilliland, 25th, finished 11th, and Stenhouse 28th. So 2 in the top 10 in last year's race, got there in the perfect lineup. In 2022, who we were interested to see if at Chase, who led the most laps at 29, was in the perfect lineup, he was not. So it was Larson who started 2nd, only led 5 laps, which is interesting, and finished 1st and was in the winner. Then you had Dinger again, started 6th, finished 2nd, didn't lead a lap, and was in the winner. Bell, 38th, big place differential guy. Logano was in the winner that year. Where did he? Or in the perfect lineup, started 20th there, so place differential. And then Jones at 31st and Custer at 29th. So both pushed to the top 10. So a theme that I'm finding in the last 2 years, these fringe top 10 starters that are still finishing in the top 3 are hitting winners, and they're not leading laps. I think it's because of these dominator points.
And it's because this track's hard to pass on.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Unless the person in front of you makes a mistake, it's really hard to pass that person. That's why I said earlier, the race is usually boring till the end, because that's when people start pushing people.
I think.
I was going to say, that's what happened in 22. That's why Larson won that race. He pushed Chase out of the way. There was that big drama between the team. Trust me, I remember.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I think that brings Dinger back into play quite a bit for me. Yeah. I think it is slightly different this year, though, because you got the 3, like we said, above him that have the place differential. So you're going to need those to, well, let's just compare it on the matrix. If you have a we can plug it right in here. We've added this to the matrix to where you can, if you make a copy, anybody who has access makes a copy of the sheet, they can type in finishing positions and it'll total the points without having to compare across lines if you don't want to. So let's compare in this range, you've got Dinger. Let's say he runs well, finishes third, and then you've got, where do you need the rest of this range to finish for him to beat him? Let's just say Gibbs, if he finishes sixth, all right, he still beats him. Seventh, still beats him. Eighth, you need him to finish eighth or worse. I mean, I think that's doable. Bell is a little farther back. He's going to need to finish a little farther back. You got ninth, and then Reddick's probably going to be right in that range if he doesn't lead any laps. But like we said, we think Reddick could lead laps. So there's kind of the equivalence without any dominator points involved. You got a third from Dinger is similar to the back end of the top 10 for the other three right above him. So I think those are still, I think, better plays, but I think I would keep Dinger in the pool if I was running 20 for sure. Just based on what we saw the last couple of years, people hitting the winner, starting in the top 10 and not leading any laps. So, all those guys I think are slightly better plays because they have. Dinger has it too. I mean, he could get up there and lead laps as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's a world where he does lead laps here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I've got there. Let's drop down into the under 7. I think Gilliland is the best play in that range. Starts 37th, been solid on road courses. We saw he hit the winner. I think it was last year, finishing 11th. He was not very good in practice, but his teammate was really good in practice. So McDowell. So I think Gilliland will be fine. I'm not really worried about the practice times for him starting 37th. Again, I didn't get to watch it, so there could have been something wrong with him specifically. The rest of the range is a lot of place differential looks. You got Bubba, who's priced down at 32nd, never been a great road course racer. He just kind of plods along, gets into the top 20. That would be all right. I mean, nothing spectacular, but wouldn't be horrid now at 6,600. Eric Jones has been decent, 10th in 22.
As soon as they switch cars, he's not been great.
Yeah, he's not been very good.
He's not been great.
Haley and Hocevar are back into the near 30s. Well, Haley well into the 30s. I think they're fine options. Stenhouse has been pretty good here for him. I mean, very solid, running around the top 15 for a lot of the races here. And starts 26. I think he's all right. I think maybe this type of race takes a little of his craziness out because there's so much variance anyway. He's not running full on speed the whole way around here and just plowing people. So I think he's okay. Starting 26, I think he's a fine play. Barry's priced down. Never really been he's a short track guy, not really a road course racer. What do you have anything else down in this range? I'm struggling once you cross Gilliland, other than Ricky, who I think's fine, but finding anybody else in here, I think it's kind of tough for me.
Yeah, I was looking at some practice speeds.
And
while you were talking,
LaJoy was fine.
Yeah, LaJoy was okay. I mean,
he fell off quite a bit between the 5 and 10, but
yeah, I was surprised. Actually, I went back up. You said under 7, but I went back up and looked at that. I stopped my sheet at 7,000. I saw Brad Kay's practice speeds. That actually was surprising to me. I didn't realize that. Gregson starting 9th here, but those practice speeds are okay. I don't know how he has finished. He has never finished here at Cup Car.
Well, here's another one we need to compare. You talked about hard to pass. Gregson, if he can hang in the top 15, where does that compare to if we don't think these other guys are going to push toward the top 10 at all? Where does something in the mid to high teens compare to him finishing 12th? That's what we need to compare.
Yeah. The reason why Gilliland and 34 McDowell scare me is because I don't trust their teams. They make mistakes. And this is a race where it's hard to pass. You can't make a mistake. You just can't. SVG proved that yesterday, and he still, even as good of a road course racer as he is, he still got back up in the top 10 or 5. I can't remember where he finished, but that mistake cost him the race. And a guy who's not a great road course racer, one mistake is going to ruin their race. They're done.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's kind of the equivalence of what you're going to need for those right below. I'm not even going to consider Gilliland in this because you're not playing Todd or Gregson over Gilliland, I don't think. But the ones right below him in the 6s, just to kind of parse it out, a 28 points from all those guys. Gregson would be 12th, Bubba 23rd, Jones 20th, and Haley 25th. So if none of those cross into the teens, a 12th from Gregson could beat him. But chances are one of them at least does.
Yeah. With that information, it kind of makes me like Bubba more than any of them.
Yeah. Yeah. He really just needs to play. This is almost a spot where I wish he was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because I wish he was in the spot where he could just, if he was coming here in the playoffs and needed a solid points day, he's going to try to get that 15th place finish probably. Not do something stupid before next week. Ride around here. I mean, maybe that's just what he does anyway because he can't really do anything else. I don't know.
For a win, so maybe.
He does have 7 top 20s and 9 road courses in the last 9. So, yeah, I think he's a solid option.
Yeah. I agree. Down here,
I think Haley is fine too. He's been a little more boomer bust at road courses. He had a 5th somewhere. I'm not sure where because I don't have it up, but 3 top 20s out of the other 8. So that, I don't know what to do with that information, but he does start 36th. He's got upside, so I think he's a fine option. LaJoy starts in the teens, so there's, you got to think about that a little bit. I think he's still okay. If it was low teens, I think I would, or low, right outside the top 10 where he started, I think I would consider it a little more. What about John Hunter? How's he been in Xfinity, I wonder? That's something we'll have to look into. I'll have rankings. We'll both have cores up before the race. I'm probably going to knock those out here early and then hop over to NFL. We got a lot going on with NFL as well. I have rankings pretty much up, except for I think tight end for NFL, and then I need to do notes for those. I had the show last night, so be sure if you guys haven't checked out our NFL show. Went through the slate, some thoughts on that last night. Now I have ranks up. I'll have all the cores as well. Good luck to everybody today. I think any last words for the Cup race?
Good luck, everybody. Now that we've done all this and gone through the entire sheet, I kind of lie. I mean, I know place differential is king, but I don't know that you want to do too many in the 30s. It's a tough place to pass. Tough place to pass. Keep in the 20s and teens and have like 1 or 2 dominators, in my opinion. This show completely changed my opinion on having 3 dominators. I want 1 or 2 max. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just who we consider dominators, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, I mean, if you run a pool and you consider, if you're running like 20 and you're setting a rule in an optimizer, you're probably going to consider all those guys you were talking about dominators. Then, yeah, you can do 2 to 3. But I think what you want to do here, if you're running, even if you are doing that, I think you want to zoom that in to maybe like do a top 10 group and play 1 to 2 instead of worrying about the dominators, because you're going to organically get the guys you want at the top without doing groups like that. There's a lot of tracks that I will do groups when we want, like next week. We're going to talk about it a lot at Bristol. Bunch of laps. You're going to have 2, 3. I mean, you could even have 4 dominators at Bristol.
Yeah.
And we're going to want to make sure we have exposure to the top 10 guys there that are who we think who can lead the race next week. Here's just different. There's not as many laps to go around. And just with where we got starting positions, there's only a few guys I'm even considering that really need to lead laps to get there. So yeah, I think we're on it.
Yep, I think so too.
All right, well, let's have a day in all sports. Good luck to everybody. Glad to see a few of you guys up early watching us. I know one's DOB, so we'll see you in the chat here in a bit. But like I said, I'll have ranks up here in just a few after this and highlights as well. So good luck to everybody today, and we'll see you next week for Bristol.
Sounds good, everybody. Good luck.